Hi everyone, and welcome to the Transparency Exchange API Project Koala meeting for February. Today is February 12th, and we have an agenda. Let me update the participants here. So we haven't got any newcomers. Do you have any information from ECMA? TC54. I missed the last meeting because problems with my dad, but
Yeah, no worries. No real updates. We do need to get the TG1. Do we have that on the calendar right now?
no, I was supposed to meet with what's the name? At
Samina?
Fosdem, Samina at
Oh,
Fosdem.
okay.
But I was luckily for her we didn't meet.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to catch her this week and see if we can start planning the details on that.
Yeah, we just need to get that on the calendar.
Yep.
And start having regular meetings for that. Other than
Are
that, the
you behind the
documentation.
fact? Are you
Yeah,
behind the fact that Star gave me access to calendar suddenly?
I wasn't aware of that. I haven't checked my
Okay.
OWASP
Okay, I
PMs.
suddenly got access to the OWASP event calendar, but I'll ask her about it. Anyway,
Okay.
but the package URL group seems to be up to speed this year as well.
Yeah, there is a general consensus among the Perl team that we will likely not make it. We will likely not be ready in the next couple of weeks to submit to TC54 for consideration. That means
Okay.
that we will either do it out of band or wait until the December GA, one of the two. But the first GA, which is a little bit earlier this year, it's in June. We're not going to be able to make that timeline.
No. So we may have oh, hi, Valerio. We may have at least two then documents, T and Pearl.
Yeah,
For that
more than
time.
likely we'll likely have 4 or 5 standards,
Okay. So,
possibly by the end of the year.
yeah. Anything new from CPE? I haven't followed their meetings. Are they?
I have not been following them.
Okay. So I have to check in with Benny and see what's going on because we're a bit depending upon that.
I am going to be speaking tomorrow actually at CyberCon, which is a security conference here in Chicago. And I'm going to be on Josh Brescher's podcast. I think the recording's like
Oh,
next week or the week after. And both of those discussions are going to be about machine readable attestations. Obviously ties directly into CycloneDX and some of the work that we're doing in the Transparency Exchange API.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he restarted
By
the open
CPE, you
source
mean
security.
CLE? Sorry. Sorry, I wanted to ask. By CPE, you mean common life cycle enumeration?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
CLE.
CLE. Oh, sorry. Yes.
In that case, I think I was at the last meeting, so they will not be able to publish for June, but yes, they will probably be ready
Okay.
for December.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. My mistake. Sorry. Mark.
Sorry, Steve, you said that you'll basically be incommunicado tomorrow, Thursday?
That is correct. That means the SCVS meeting. We will not be able to have. I'll be in transit.
Okay.
It Hit me up after this call though, Mark. I got some interesting information for you regarding
Okay.
CVS.
Okay. Cool. I had a meeting with SPDX tech group, a very good meeting. We discussed compliance with SPDX and they had some input. I thought they were going to show up today, but I'm just going to have to catch up with them. But I did the brief T presentation, then we had a lot of discussion about collections and artifacts and how artifacts work together. So we'll get some feedback from them, and they're well into the process. At FOSDEM, I had a T presentation in the SPOM dev room. I'm happy to say that this year we had a better balance between CycloneDX and SPDX in the SPOM dev room than we've seen before. So it was a nice dev room. And I got some feedback, and interesting feedback was, which is a bit out of scope, but what about a third party that wants to publish information about a product that they have security advisories, or they want to publish an SBOM that they think is better than the one published by the manufacturer? I think I referred to people, there was a group working with this stuff, and I referred them a bit to Skit, because Skit involves multiple actors publishing statements about the same products or software. But it's an interesting problem, but right now I see that it's a bit out of scope.
I think it's mainly a question of resolution. So, for example, you may rely on a commercial vendor that gives you better security data, and they will resolve the TEIs in the correct way. So normally you use DNS, and if you use that vendor, they will say, okay, we have a better version of this TEI.
I mean, you can't solve all the problems at once. Yotam, can you mute yourself?
Yeah, sorry.
No worries. Hi and welcome. No, I think we just have to deem that as out of scope right now and focus on getting the basic flow between project or manufacturer and customers going, and we'll take the rest later. We had a discussion about WoundCon. I got some queries from Krob at OpenSSF. He wants me to be there. I don't know if I can fund that, but I'm still looking into it. So we'll see what happens.
They did have they had a hybrid experience last year, and for the most part, it worked out pretty good. The only thing you kind of missed out on was those side conversations happening in the room.
Yeah, and he was setting up, let me see what I say.
I wasn't
something related to CRA, a side event or some kind.
Yeah, I was expected to go to VolCon this year, but the OWASP board is meeting in Amsterdam that same week, so I'm not going to be able to make it. But I will be able to participate remotely.
OWASP board coming to Europe, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I've submitted a few talks. So I'm not sure what's the status there, but if one of them will be accepted, I assume I will be there.
To Barcelona? Sure. Yep.
No, in VolCon.
Oh, VolCon. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll make a note of Yotam maybe going. So we'll see. But maybe we should force ourselves in the agenda and either do it remotely or let Yotam say something on site. That's good. We had a discussion earlier about the target beta 1. I want us to have a more focused discussion on that. I did some maintenance and merge and pull requests that and moved some open issues in the PRs to separate issues to be able to merge so we can move on. We need to look into that. I'm still trying to, but I need your help, Steve, to get the hackathon in Barcelona going. Last thing I heard, we've been having discussion with Lauren for a while, and suddenly she came and said, well, there's no room and you have to talk to Star. And now today I reached out to Star, as you've seen, Steve.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I will try to influence from my side, but we'll see.
I don't know how easy that is with Star, but we'll give it a try. I didn't get any accept on my training proposals. At least I'm free for those days. So we can have hackathon then. So that's those issues. So where are we? I think we need to find out and prioritize what we need to get to some sort of state where we can start implementing code. Let's call it beta or something. Right now, the open API spec and other specs of leaves and collections doesn't align fully in data structure and especially names. I don't know why they changed the name while developing open API, but we need to fix that so we have the same data structures. For authentication authorization, we only had a PowerPoint. I just made a pull request where I added a first version of a text, basically saying that, well, this is very much up to the implementation, but for interoperability, you have to have an HTTP bearer token in an HTTP authorization header. What that contains is implementation specific. It could contain that this customer only have right to product A version after version 5, or that this customer have full rights to see anything of all our products. But that's very much an implementation specific. The way I see it, we don't need interoperability on that level on the content of the token. Or is there any need for us to specify the content like a GWT token or something?
I would rather leave it open personally.
Yeah.
And let the implementations kind of figure that out.
Yeah. I don't see any need because you get the token from someone that operates a specific implementation, and there's the interoperability has to be that for the client, the token is just an opaque string. It doesn't mean anything. It's just random bits and bytes, base64 encoded. But for the server, it means something, right? So that all the clients can take any tokens. And that's what's important for interoperability. Okay, so please.
Hold on a second. There's no need to define sort of the responses when access is denied or whatever. I mean, it's normally it would be standard sort of like sort of HTTP 403 or whatever, but should it still be in the schema? So it's not saying how the authentication should be done, but when the server says, no, I'm not going to allow this request, it still needs to tell the client what happened so that the client can then perform gracefully.
That should be in the open API spec. Is it not there already?
I don't think authentication is in there, but we need to check. So I'm
Okay.
adding some comments here. We need to make sure we have a way to signal that the token is expired, that the auth revoked. What more? No access.
Yeah, that means basically for all, so because it's a header, that means that all of the request endpoints would basically need to support like 403 type of responses.
Yep.
Or
I
is
think,
that yeah,
there are some 401s in the spec.
401s? Okay, all right.
Yeah, we need to go through that because there's
I have
also some semantics for now in HTTP. You can deliver some metadata, so you're not only saying given another 401 or 407, you can also say why. There's a
Yeah.
new RC for that, so maybe we should look into that. I'm kind of though hesitant in the HTTP world to support new RFCs.
Yeah, you want to be as compatible as possible with something like this, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that disturbs anything, but a client that actually implements parsing that is, I think, is a JSON something. That client can do things in a better way. Say that, hey, you need to log into the customer portal and get a new bearer token because I'm expired, I'm dead.
Right.
But
Then we need to figure out, for instance, in dependency track,
wouldn't
if
those
I
responses
install,
be optional?
sorry?
Wouldn't those so additional responses be optional, such that if
Oh
a
yeah,
client chooses to is capable of dealing with them, then that is all other things going to be being equal is going to be a better quality client that might be preferred by some people.
yeah, but we can say that the server implementation is required to send it because that's not a big work. It's fairly simple.
Yeah. I think the easy path without having to deal
But-
with newer RFCs would likely just be to support a error response, which would be an array of 0 or more potential errors as a potential response versus what
Yeah,
the
yeah.
you know
Yeah.
that would be the easy path because that way every
I'll
client can support
just
that.
go through the RFCs here and check what they said. There has to be some sort of best current practice for using bearer token authentication. So I'll document that. Okay.
I have a question for you if we're done
yep.
with that. Because it's February now and my capacity is starting to free up a little bit. I've been thinking a lot about the Insights API and
Yep.
how I'm going to structure that. And my question is, how should I contribute that back? Because once we start introducing the object model, the open API spec is going to balloon.
The Insights API, why would that mess up the open API? It depends on where we place the API, right?
Well, I mean, it's going to basically support a normalized object model that we've kind of
Yep.
used with SCVS, which itself was derived from CycloneDX. So you're basically looking at the majority of CycloneDX, being able to be natively represented via an API. So yeah, it's going to balloon quite a lot.
Yeah, but I don't think, I mean, the base API where we have now, which is basically a glorified file system.
Yeah.
Will still stand, right? But
oh yeah, of course.
We will add, we need to figure out where to place that. But this is maybe a good time to look at the API structure and say, well, you still go to Leaf, you still to select a version, and normally now you go directly from leaf to collection, but you may go from leaf to insights for that leaf, saying that I'm looking at Edvina Soft version 5.7.3, and instead of going to collection with all the artifacts, I now want to actually do some deep diving into that version.
Right. And
So
even that's
we
going to be
need
optional.
yeah, that's optional. That's a level 2, but
Yeah.
we need to. I like first drawing it up in my head in PowerPoints and figure out the model. But I think that's where we're gonna hook it in on the leaf level.
Probably. The basic premise, obviously, of insights, I mean, because, you know, having the glorified file system is fine, but you still have issues around, you know, SBOM format and all this other nonsense.
All that mess still around, and I have to have a local parser. But with insights, I can do much more without downloading and parsing.
Exactly. The
So
premise is to be able to ask it questions, and I'm using I have plans to utilize both the common expression language as well as leverage you know, a series of prompts for supporting AI over the API. So both theoretically would be possible.
mm,
So well-formed queries versus, you know, less formed queries.
I think we discussed CL on a previous meeting. Where was that? Yeah, here.
Yep.
But then authorization is becoming interesting as well. But it shouldn't really affect. I mean, that could be one point where, since you are using my CPU, I may not want to have that open only for paying customers or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But is there any reason why I would like authorization within insights to be fine grade, allow you to do some queries or see some data and not some other data?
Yep. Yeah, there is.
Where?
Which is something you don't get with SBOMs. So what we envision is that while the artifacts will be uploaded, like the SBOMs will be uploaded to T, the majority of consumption are not going to be the artifacts. They're going to be via insights. Because the reality is that both formats at this point can theoretically can contain data that would be advantageous to adversaries, which goes against the SysFact. So that SysFact that SBOMs are a path to the attacker, that hasn't been true for a very long time.
No.
So the specs have evolved to the point where, yeah, this data could in fact be very useful. And the number of organizations I've talked to that don't want to provide SBOMs, but want to provide a subset of that data is upwards of 90%. So we envision that, yes, we would have access control on a object type basis. So like inventory might be available to everybody versus, you know, maybe patent information, which would not, or attestations only to certain customers, or, you know, things like that.
Okay. So that then using the bearer token as GWT makes a lot of sense, or having it on the server side and just connecting it to a user and a customer ID or something.
Right, exactly. And I think we can structure the API in a way that, you know, the implementations can kind of do that or not for themselves.
Yep.
Wanted to add
That's gonna
one
be-
quick thing. If we go
Yep.
for JWT, probably we can have a lot of freedom and granularity using the claims. So we can
Mhm.
extend the insights access using just the claims.
So
So
the
probably
jot,
could be a
the
good
claims that are in the jot, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, in the JWT. So if you want someone to extend the access to some other APIs, you just extend the claim.
Mhm.
That could be one way. But that's the normal OAuth way of setting it up.
Yeah, nothing new under the sun.
So
No, I
has
think
all
that
of the has all the open API spec, has that been consolidated into a single spec right now? Or are they all like separate?
we have a single spec, but the problem is that the spec is not, and the text documentation doesn't follow each other. They were a bit too creative and invented new names for some of the things in the data structure, and we need to unify that. There's also a part where Victor and I had a discussion where he started parsing the TI and creating hard-coded fields for barcode or Perl or something. And I say that, well, that doesn't make sense because we need to be able to expand the TI types without changing the data structure.
Yep.
So I think we agree that we need a more opaque list of things with types of the things in the API instead of having an empty field for barcode for everyone that doesn't have barcodes.
Yep. Makes sense.
It's very much like the package URL types that I don't want to go to ECMA every time I add a new TI type. I want that to be able to move without us changing all the code and the spec. Sometimes you have to be a bit clever in regards to the standardization. After many years in IETF, you learn that the IANA registry moves much faster than the RFC publication process. So you rely on the IANA registry instead of writing new RFCs. And that's what we have to do with package URL types and TI identifier types. Did I see a question from you, Jotam, or was it just a thumbs up?
Just a thumbs up.
Okay. So,
Drop the question in the chat.
oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Go ahead, Valerio.
Yeah, want to ask if we can start publishing some data model for leaf and collections, because that I think is going to help a lot with the implementation, because we know where we want to go and people they can take from there.
Yeah, we have, I believe, in the repository data models for it, but the problem is that we need to align that. So I'm gonna look. So we have collection, index, and leaf here, right? But if you compare these with here, for instance, if you compare this with the Open API spec, they don't fully align, and that's what I need to work with Victor on.
Yeah, exactly this. There is a little of discrepancies between the two.
Yeah, and that's what I put on my list. But in the API spec here in the bottom, you have a lot of object models. So collection artifact. You have here, you have T collection, tea leaf. But we just need to make sure. But I'll check with Victor if it's in taking care of the family or if he has some time over.
Cool. Are those
After the
correlated?
Sorry?
Are those correlated? Meaning that do they belong to the same end-to-end flow, same Acme product?
No, I don't get your question. Sorry.
I'm asking if they are correlated, meaning if the leaf is correlated to the collection that is in the examples, so that I can simulate locally an end-to-end flow.
That's what I'm going to validate here. I haven't validated all the properties here with the text specs. So I need to change the text specs so they correlate with object API, open API spec, or vice versa. So I'm gonna start doing that. Okay.
Super.
And if you
Thank
can,
you.
if you can help, I'm open. We can set up a work meeting with Zoom or Jitsi or anything else. But that's why I had here that we need a unification of specs and open API. Because right now
Yes.
it's a bit confusing.
And the hackathon could help a lot with this, once that we have all the data structured and unified.
Yeah, I think we need to finalize some sort of beta so we can start producing code. And we're in discussion with Dependency Track as well to see if they can join. So we can have a hackathon. And in the hackathon, we'll go through the spec in detail and see if we need updates or clarifications. There's always something we've forgotten. So before we start finalizing the first version of the spec, I think we need code, and interoperability testing.
Super, thank you.
So that part will start to happen. Please read the pull request for authentication authorization. I will go through the result codes, HTTP result codes, so at least we have some documentation on that. I know from other protocols that people are always confused about 401, 407, 503, what those means. So I think it would be good in this API if we did some clarification on which error codes, and that should belong, I haven't checked if they have it, but that should belong to the open API spec. Anything else we need to discuss?
So we should start providing some examples for the API, for the output of the API.
I think that you'll see, but what I would like to do is run the generators locally and run some code through them. Like before we had the open API spec, I created some Python code just to see the data models in JSON, if they made any sense, and the TEIs.
Because
I would
I
like
think it would be interesting to provide some guidance on how to split between products, leaves, and collections. For example, for a semantically versioned library.
That's what I started
Because
with.
the choice is up to the producer, so it's not fixed, but some examples would be useful.
Yeah. I think I started playing with this, but this is a while ago. The collection library here, which basically outputs JSON data structure. So I could see that artifacts and stuff played around. But I actually opened a ticket, something we need to, and I discussed with SPDX. I know you and I had a discussion earlier, Piotr. We need to provide examples now because we have the IETF media type, but that basically says that this is a CycloneDX document, but doesn't say what type of CycloneDX document it is. And we need to figure out if we're on the right path with the enumeration we stole from CycloneDX. If we can express
Here,
what we want.
here I think SPDX is more precise because external references in SPDX have a type and a meme type. So a reference type, for example, SBOM, VEX, VDR, and a meme type to know the kind of document.
Yeah.
So in
They
CycloneDX,
also
there is
had
just a URL and you have to guess the meme type. Well, it will be returned.
Yeah, but that's the inside the SBOM. I'm talking about outside now in our list of artifacts, right? We need to make sure that if I get a list of artifacts, I know that this is a CycloneDX SBOM, this is a CycloneDX SAS bomb, this is the C bomb, this is an SPDX SBOM, so I can actually choose.
Yeah, I think we have that in the spec. So
yeah, but I would like us to do a list of typical things, typical artifacts, and then examples on how we categorize, because I think otherwise developers will come up with their own, and then we don't have interoperability. So
yeah,
I want to
for me it's harder
limit the
to know
amount
how
of
to,
guesswork here.
yeah, how to define what a leaf is for a typical project. Of course, there are some projects that number versions sequentially, and then but there are projects that do it semantically, and then there are multiple choices on what to put as leaf.
I think we for version numbering, we just said that that's a text string, we don't care. And then we added a timestamp to sort it, right?
Yeah, but then you decide what a leaf is. If all version 2 are in the same leaf, or version 2.1 are in the same leaf.
I thought we had that there's no.
There are some comments in the spec in the tleaf, yes.
Well,
So
we have
major and minor
pre-release.
versions.
Each release is for a subversion or minor version is the same. A new version count as mayor. Okay. Oh, we need to figure that out. You're right.
Yeah, there is already an alternative subversion or minor version. Of course, in the end, it's up to the project to decide. It's not up to us, but we can provide some guidance.
We can write better guidance for that. Yes. Do you open a ticket on that so we remember?
Yeah.
I did commit some text on the pre-release flag. That's also kind of hard. Unfortunately, it also has some bearings on the Cyber Resilience Act, where there are different rules for, I would say, beta or test software. So I think the first step is making sure we have correlation between the Open API spec and these documents. The second step is to go through all of these again and verify that we agree on them. Because when we have an agreement on these to say that we are beta 1, then I have a very sad message for Steve, that Steve needs to teach me how to make ECMA documents so we can start producing them and see what we can do.
I can make your eyes bleed if you like.
I know. I've been postponing that. But yeah,
Yes.
I need to figure out how to take all of these documents and make them into one combined. But we can do that as long as we have a beta one, so developers can start developing. We can buy ourselves time to.
So should we
learn that
set
language.
an expected an ETA for beta 1?
I said the end of the quarter,
End of the
April
quarter.
1st
Yeah.
is what I hope, what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, because this Apache Trusted Releases project I was talking about
Mhm.
on other occasions, they started right now, but they started fast. So at some point, I would like to feed them to implement a TEA API for,
Yep, yep.
and it would be nice if it's a beta one, if it's
Yeah.
to show that it's not something that will change too often.
Should we try to schedule a work meeting where we try to approach some of these things next week?
Yeah.
I don't know how your agenda looks like. Which time zone are you in, Jotam? Are you in US or Israel or?
Amsterdam time zone.
You are, sorry, Valerio.
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Oh, that's
Yeah.
good one. It's the same as me and
Yeah.
Piotr. So I can, if we ignore Steve for a while, he's gonna deep dive into insights, and we also have this Chris from Australia who wanted to join. So maybe we could test having a before lunch workshop. But what would be best, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week?
Yeah, my kids have free, so so I don't need to drive them anywhere.
You have sports holiday, as we say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Valerio?
I would say Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's book Wednesday, and you join when you can, but I'll send out a link in the chat to a Teams meeting. Koala workshop. So let's say 9 to 11:30 or something.
Yes.
And let's try to go through some open issues and pull requests and get things done together. Okay?
Yeah, super. I have to go, guys. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. So I got your name correct. Okay then. I think we're done here. We have a plan. We have work ahead of us. I'll go check with SPDX if someone wants to join from that team as well. But I think Gary is on US time zones as well.
Yeah.
So we may want to set up an afternoon workshop for those as well.
Do we have a list of questions from that group?
No, I thought he was going back. He wanted to check some things. Unfortunately, I don't remember because I still had my cold. But there was something they called, it was a grouping of SPDX, was it documents that he wanted to make sure we could support? But I'll discuss it with him
Okay. All right.
and see what that was. We also discussed that old issue about whether the collection was a static or dynamic object, and he had opinions on that, and signatures, but we need him to come forward with that. So I'll remind him of our next meeting and see if we can book him for that.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay then. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you in the chat group at the OWASP CycloneDX Slack or in our GitHub. See you next week at the workshop, Wednesday morning, European time, and in 2 weeks in our regular meeting.
Yeah, there's one thing.
Okay.
You're Ollie, you're one of the guys planning to go to AppSec in Barcelona, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've now formally been shot down. My company has basically got a ban on international travel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have an open talk proposal. I don't know if they're going to accept that, but I'm hoping for the hackathon.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And
So,
I'll be in southern France the days before Barcelona, so it should be easy to travel down to Barcelona and then home.
yeah. I mean, I'd love to be there, not just to meet yourself, but meet Steve, hopefully Nicholas from Dependency Track will be there, and so many other people.
Yep, yep. Yeah,
Right.
I happily met John at FOSDEM. What's it, Kovalchek, something? And I didn't recognize him at all because he had all of his hair and a different hat than in all the pictures I've seen of him. And he thought that was very funny. So, but now I know him.
That's awesome. Did you
Yeah,
take any photos?
I don't think we did. That's
Ah,
bad. I saw that he got funding from, what was it? Yeah, Software Technology Fund. And that's really good. We need more of that.
yeah.
Yep. Okay then. Steve, can I keep you in the meeting for a few moments?
Sure.
And thank you the rest.
And Steve, you can ping me when you're done.
Yep.
Okay.
Cheers.
You can